Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Woo! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we will be remembering the late, great, legendary James Earl Jones, who definitely passed far, far too soon. Plus all the latest Star Wars news, and as always, we'll be answering your burning hashtag Ask the SWU questions at the end of the show. All this and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Good to be back. I want to say we have a great episode for you guys tonight, which we do, but also, yes, we've got some unfortunate news to share with you guys, and to talk about, and to honor someone who really, gosh, I mean, like, Star Wars would not be Star Wars without this guy. Like, come on, like, just the repertoire and the career that he made and the life he made, incredible. So definitely take a moment to honor him and catch up on hopefully some good news.
That's right. Also joining us all the way from the Raeside, it's Hannah.
G'day there. Great to be back for another show. And like that sentiment. I think we can take a lot of joy in celebrating the life of James Earl Jones, and can't wait to talk about his lineage and his legacy that he's left. Around that as well, we've got so much other things to talk about. Some good things and happy things as well. Can't wait to get into it.
That's right. And we'll get into the plugs in a second. But Hannah, you will be very excited about something I just got in the mail.
Oh, me? Yes. Finally. Nix is back there. He's happy. Oh my gosh, yes. But, finally.
Okay, so I have a question though. I bought this thing on sale, right? So it had to be shipped to me because it came from someone who was selling, I don't know, like overstock or I don't know what. But the thing is, it comes in a format that, like, I don't know what it is. Like, what is this? What do I do with this? For our audio listeners, I'm holding up something that looks like a laser disc.
I
don't know. I don't use these to game, so I don't.
Shocking! Shocking! Blasphemy! How dare you?
So I have to figure out how to read the instructions. It did not come with instructions, so I'm gonna have to go to the local library and find some instructions on how to use this thing.
Some history book, some ancient textbook explaining how to utilize one of those.
Yeah, that'll help. But
the Jedi Archives.
Yes. Once I go to the Jedi Archives and figure that out, I am very excited to play the game after your glowing review. Gonna be a great time. So before we get into the show, we want to remind everybody that you can find us on social media at the SWU. So check out our socials. If you're watching right now on YouTube, you can hit that subscribe button, punch it chewy. And if you can also super chat with us as well on the show. And if you're not watching live, you can become a channel member. And if you're listening to the show elsewhere, please subscribe over there and review if you're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, anything else. We also have a Discord server. The link is in the description. Check it out. We got game nights, watch parties, lots of cool things. Ben, what is the next exciting thing that is happening on our Discord server?
That's a question for Joel. Honestly, I don't know. He in his defense, he went to Disneyland and he was hanging out with some cool people. I think he's been busy this week. I don't think he has made any definite plans. But game nights have been a very popular thing recently, especially with Fortnite's been on fire lately. It's not Star Wars, but there's been a lot of Marvel goodness in there, and a whole lot of other stuff. So yeah, who knows? And as I said, Young Jedi Adventures. We really need to get back to that, like big time. It's
okay.
It's for real.
Hold on a minute. If you're trying to watch the entirety of the Star Wars canon, you might even be including things that aren't in canon. I don't know, but if you're trying to watch every Star Wars thing on our Discord server, and you're still stuck in the Young Jedi Adventures,
I know.
Now,
if you're leading up to this, I know. We know.
That's okay. Definitely.
Look, at first, I originally pitched this idea as a quote year-long event, and now I'm realizing it's going to take more than a year, more than probably many years.
I guess the point is to never run out of content, which I don't think you will. I think that at this rate, you will be collecting new things you just got to make sure you're watching things as fast as new things are coming out, so you don't get behind at this point.
That's true.
Right.
Jeez. Wow. Okay. But that sounds really fun. And it sounds like we need some more people over there to coax some more watch parties out of Ben and Joel. So head over to our Discord server. Check that out. And of course, check out all the other things we have going on at the Star Wars Underworld Network, the Raeside, On Canon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and much more. All right, let's get into the show. Let's get into the extremely sad news that we've lost yet another of the original Star Wars cast.
Yeah, this was, I mean, like, to say it's like a shock would, it's not necessarily. Like, obviously James Earl Jones was 93. That's good innings. As I say, I would love to live half as long and have even a fifth of the impact on the world that James Earl Jones had. And, he lived a very long time and had an incredible full life. And, obviously his career, it goes without saying, but I'll say it. Okay. He was the freaking voice of Darth Vader, one of the most iconic voice performances of all time, not to mention all of his film roles, from Hunt for Red October to Field of Dreams to Coming to America to so many others. Not to mention his stage performances. Such a brilliant, rich career, and he has made an incredible impact. And then not only that, his appearances on The Big Bang Theory, which everyone's been sharing around, like him saying, "I like Star Wars too," and him really seemingly being very open and very just like down to earth about playing around with his role as Darth Vader, and and someone who could easily say he's bigger than that, because hell yeah, he was bigger than Darth Vader. He had a career well worth it, but he still was very much appreciative, I think, of what Star Wars brought him. And Star Wars, I think, really brought something. We as Star Wars fans owe him an incredible debt, because I don't think Star Wars would be as successful. And you're talking about Darth Vader, one of the most iconic parts of Star Wars, would not have made the impact without that voice. So yeah, James Earl Jones passes away at 93. Just, it sucks. It's really sucked. But it's been great to see the outpouring of support people have had online and just sharing the stories, and a lot of celebrities too that I didn't even know knew him, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like put up this like great, really heartfelt thing. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't know you guys know each other, but they had such an impact on each other. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, you hit on such an important thing of like the voice of Vader. Like the reason that Star Wars became so successful and important and powerful and reverent to so many when it was first released, I think there was a lot of elements that brought it together. The great storytelling and vision from George, and the actors and the faces that we got to love. But it's also the character designs and the look of everything from Ralph McQuarrie, and then obviously to bring that to life, and James's voice as Vader was so powerful, and it's really one of the first voices that you hear. What's the first line of A New Hope? Actually, is it him?
It's
No.
actually 3PO. Did you hear that? But
Oh,
then
of course,
his first line is what is his first line? Damn it. It's where are those transmissions you've intercepted? What have you done with those plans? I'm not gonna do a James Earl Jones impression because I cannot do that justice.
Yeah.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, you would need a cup.
But jumping straight into it, and he just characterizes this character immediately, and there's so much to the visual shape and impression visually that Vader had, but the sound of him so important as well. And James's voice was just so good, and there's a reason why he was so fantastic. His acting chops were fantastic, but then also just his voice, like, come on. And the sound, him, the sound of Mufasa, these characters that are really powerful, and this great boom and depth to his sound, and that just made his voice so good to the character he was pairing it to. So yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic guy. What a guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think about the decision that, I don't know, do we know officially if it was George Lucas specifically who like decided, okay, I want to have a separate person play Darth Vader on screen and voice Darth Vader. I am assuming that was George's decision, unless I hear elsewise from someone. But
that seems to be the story, at the very least.
But regardless, like it was such a brilliant decision in retrospect, to bring in a world-class voice actor to play a character whose face at that time we didn't think that we would see. And it made Darth Vader is iconic with every aspect of who the character is. The way that, from the way that the suit is designed to the way that Dave Prowse embodied Vader on screen, to the music and motifs that John Williams added to that character over the progression of the films, to the voice and the way that the voice is modulated and edited. All of those things are just so incredibly iconic. You would recognize Vader's voice, Vader's music, and Vader's silhouette. Those three things. Even if you have not seen a Star Wars movie ever, you would probably still recognize all three of those things and say, oh, that's Darth Vader's music. Oh, that's Darth Vader's voice. Oh, that's a Darth Vader, silhouette. Like, and so to be a part of that character and to be a core part of that is just an absolutely incredible thing on its own, not including all of the many, many other iconic, incredible things that the man did in his life, in addition to this just one thing. But it's just an incredible legacy, obviously an incredible person as well off screen, and incredibly, kind, and extremely intelligent human being, as well. And I'll share my favorite non-Star Wars James Earl Jones thing, because I'm sure that all the Star Wars fans have been hearing a lot about Darth Vader and the legacy, and it's been said, again and again and again and again. But my favorite kind of niche, random, not a lot of people know about it, James Earl Jones thing, is he was a guest star for one episode on my favorite sitcom, Frasier, with Kelsey Grammer, back in
I had no idea he was on Frasier. That's amazing.
Yes, he was on Frasier, and it was an absolute. There's so many brilliant episodes of Frasier, but this is actually one of the best episodes of the show that he was on. It was very much like a bottle episode. There was really the whole episode pretty much takes place in one room, and what it is George Lucas goes to visit a man that's living in a nursing home, and this man is played by James Earl Jones, and he plays a character who is blind, and he talks to Frasier about how he has a porcelain cast of his late wife's face on his bedside table. So kind of like how some people would have a photo because he's blind, he has a sculpture of her face so he can feel her face. So with this being a comedy, Frasier accidentally drops this.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
While they're talking, and he's showing it to him, and because James Earl Jones' character cannot see, he asks, "What happened? Did you just drop my wife's face?" And Frasier, of course, notices that he's only broken the nose off; it hasn't shattered. So he lies. He tells James Earl Jones, "No, that was something else. The face is fine. The face is fine." The rest of the episode is Frasier trying to glue the nose back on the face while still talking to James Earl Jones without James Earl Jones discovering what happened. And then he finally figures out how to do it, returns it to him. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the episode, one of the big punchlines is James Earl Jones revealing that he knew the whole time that it was broken.
Oh, wow.
It's an amazingly written episode, and James Earl Jones is incredible in that. And it's one of my favorite performances that he's given outside of the one big one that we all are here for.
Right. And it is amazing how, because I was watching some other, I don't even know what the movie was, but it was a scene between him and Robin Williams. If somebody could tell me what movie that was, but it was a really funny scene. And like, he was that kind of actor that, like, I mean, especially in an era when, well, of course we live in an era now where actors are all over the place. They go from TV to movies. Like, there was an era when TV actors didn't do movies and movie actors didn't do TV or whatever else. He was someone that was just kind of ran the gamut and was all over the place. And did everything. And one of his most popular roles, one that really impacted me as a kid, was obviously Lion King. And like, I'm trying to think, I'm pretty sure I was an adult before I actually realized the guy who voices Mufasa is also the guy who voices Darth Vader.
Yeah,
I think it took me a while. It was what I wish I could remember the moment where, like, wait, what? Like, that thing. But then I still do those things with other actors and stuff too, because I'm an idiot sometimes. But you know, it is it's amazing. And it's really I mean, and the impact that he has, like I heard a lot of people say, and it really is true, he is the voice of a generation. I would say he's the voice of several generations.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Like, so many different things. I think everyone, yeah, like he's things, and the fact that he continued to play Vader and continue to bring that character, it really set the standard. I think there's a lot of imitators, a lot of great imitators, but you can always tell when it's not James Earl Jones playing Vader. And I mean that in the kindest way possible. Like, there's so many great ones, but you're like, okay, this guy's good. He's not JJ. He's not James. He's not James Earl Jones. And he's trying, but he's not. And unfortunately, we're going to have a lot more of that in the future. Even the AI weird robot voice is like really good in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it's still not him. You can tell. So it's going to be, it's already sucks that you're not going to hear his version of Vader. You know, obviously there will be others, but, yeah, it's, you know, it's amazing the impact he left. And just like you were saying, how iconic Vader is and how iconic each particular part of Vader is, from the breathing to the voice to the silhouette to the helmet, the cape, everything. It's all there. And just the fact that like it hasn't changed in 45 years. What we see in A New Hope is basically the same costume and the same everything we have today that we have showing up in shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and there's no need to change it. It was perfect from the beginning. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, it's I obviously huge loss to the community, and obviously condolences to his family.
Yeah, I agree so much. I wonder if the often misquoted line, "No, I am your father," that is often referenced and parodied as "Luke, I am your father." I wonder if that's the most famous line in cinema. I wonder about that sometimes.
Look, I'll say this. It's the most quoted line in cinema, or in the case of Luke, I am your father, the most misquoted line in cinema. And there's still people in comment sections arguing about, I have it on VHS. I was there in 1980. I heard Luke, I am your father. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Believe whatever you want to believe. But it's...
I have some Berenstain Bears books for you.
But it's well documented, okay? It was in the script. It was there from 1980. I'm sorry, okay? Mandela effect is a hell of a thing. Yeah, so I'm very, I don't know.
What would be more famous? I can't think of something more famous.
I think in the previous generation, like This Is the Beginning of a Beautiful Friendship or something like that is pretty famous.
Yeah,
but that's
I don't know.
Lost its...
Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Like maybe that's up there.
What is that from?
That's
Planet of the Apes.
Come on.
Yeah, okay. No, that's definitely not as famous as the two ones I mentioned, in my opinion.
I don't know.
Yeah,
well, maybe up for contention. Sorry to interrupt, Ben. Maybe up for contention is the famous line from The Phantom Menace, Chris. Famous line that I can't even exactly remember what the line was.
At last.
At last.
At last.
At last.
At last is my favorite Star Wars line.
Nothing.
That's gotta be
Nothing compares.
That's gotta be the second most famous line in cinema.
Definitely.
Second.
Yes. And you only remember one, which is why even though it's the second most, you don't remember it because there's only one that you can remember at once. Your brain can only hold one line.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But seriously, like I think the only other like more iconic line would be "May the Force be with you," but that's only iconic because it's said every 5 minutes in every movie.
Yeah, does that count as a line?
This is a single, "No, I am your father" is like one line.
Yeah.
And easily one of the best, if not the most prizing, most iconic, and best plot twist in the history of fiction, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's up there.
You know what's so frustrating to me is that I'm still trying to find somebody who hasn't heard that line, and I haven't yet. Because I want to show it to them for the first time.
Well, yeah, that's the whole argument about like what people say. Oh, you have to watch the movies in release order because it reveals that thing. But I'm wondering, like, is there anybody out there, young or old, still walking around that doesn't know that, spoiler alert, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father? Otherwise, just watch the movies in order, guys. Outside of that, it's...
No, it happens to me like, once every other month, I'll have a conversation with someone and they'll say, I haven't really seen Star Wars. And then I'll say, okay, I only have one question for you. Do you know who Luke Skywalker's father is? And the answer has always been, no, I am your father.
Right.
I'm like, shoot, even though you haven't seen it, you still know. You still know.
I do have to say, just mentioning people who haven't seen Star Wars, they But don't they tell you in such a funny way? It's like they're coming out to you as I haven't
Oh
watched
yeah.
this, like it's gonna deeply offend you. It's
Oh,
hilarious. And they're just
no.
like,
It gets
I have something to tell you. And I'm
it
like,
gets
what?
it gets worse than that. I mean, oh my,
Mm.
as someone who has been a very public Star Wars fan for a very long time, um,
Mm.
I've had gotten some fascinating things said to me about this. And I definitely have had people who will say to me just randomly, I do not like Star Wars. I refuse to watch Star Wars. Like, for sure. Like,
Just
just
what?
random.
How does that affect me? Like, move on.
Hey, man.
I'm just like,
You do
okay.
you.
It's as if like we're gonna just like pass out if we find that out.
Yeah.
It's like but like they don't realize we're in Star Wars fandom. We exist in Star Wars fandom. Like someone saying, I'm not gonna watch Star Wars and you can't make me. Like it's the most mildest take you've ever heard when you have people constantly screaming at you that you're like the devil for liking anything Star Wars for the past 5 years.
You know
like,
what it's
you know.
Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's like you're sitting there and you're eating breakfast, and just someone who is an acquaintance of yours you met 3 days ago just says, I just want you to let you know I don't eat breakfast and I never will.
yes, that's the energy. Oh my gosh, that's a
It's
good
like,
example.
okay.
You're lost. Like, oh, all right.
Pancakes are
what
great,
am I gonna do with
man.
that now?
It's like, okay, sure. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's
So, yes, James Earl Jones. Going back
Yeah.
to the topic at hand.
Yeah, that was I'm sorry for that tangent, but yes. The point still stands. James Earl Jones was a hell of a guy and a hell of a performer, and we miss him already. Great. And look, I'm not going to go on and on about how I'm a huge fan of this next person. Because I didn't know a lot about them, but they're worth mentioning. Another really tragic death, and that is tangentially connected to the fandom. John Cassidy, who you may remember that name from when Marvel Comics rebooted the canon, and there was original like arc of the main Star Wars comics, which are actually ending right now. He passed away at the age of 52. He did the art for those and a bunch of other very prolific comic book artists. You can look up his name on Google and just see tons and tons and tons and tons of just beautiful comic book panels. And so, yeah, really, really, truly tragic death that was things that I saw the name. I'm like, great. I remember him and I remember that name. And I'm not in the comic community. When I know a name like a comic book artist or a comic book writer, I'm like, that person is really big because they're on my radar. So yeah, he was a pretty big name in that world. And yeah, again, condolences. Okay, just gonna rip the Band-Aid off and left turn into a really something more positive. Okay, something more positive. Something that happened today. So Ewan McGregor, it was announced previously, and this actually happened today, that he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And obviously very well deserved, really cool. The whole ceremony is up for free on the Variety YouTube channel. You can go watch the whole thing. I highly recommend watching it. This was great. There were speeches from Hayden Christensen. There were speeches from Ewan himself. Mary Elizabeth Winstead was there. His whole family was there. Really, really great little heartwarming thing. If you want to see some clips and photos, definitely check out our socials. But yeah, really, really cool to see and he's apparently, his star is like close to Carrie Fisher's star. So now I want to go back to the Walk of Fame and I want to see both these stars. It's great.
Absolutely. And yeah, I definitely recommend going and watching like the whole thing. Is just so heartwarming. I woke up this morning and watched all the clips from it and I was just like tearing up, just like sobbing into my coffee. I was like, oh, this is so nice. This is so nice. And obviously, Hayden being there and talking so highly about him and mentioning, stories of their, past and connection for so many years now. It was just heartwarming. It was so heartwarming. And it's also so cool because obviously he is married to Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So yeah, like to see like Hera just like hanging out there and like being there was really cool as well. But yeah, the whole ceremony was just really, really heartwarming, to say the least.
Those ceremonies are really fun. I got to go to Mark Hamill's one, and that was really, really cool. I actually, funnily enough, I think I was in the middle of Googling what day this was because I wanted to see if I could go. And I think something distracted me and I forgot to figure out what day it was. And now it's happened. And I'm like, shoot, because this is something I probably would have gone to because I try to go to things like this. Yeah, these are really fun. So if you're ever doing a trip to Hollywood, look up who's getting their ceremonies that week and see if you can attend one of those. They're really cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because I'm more cognizant of it now because there's a lot of Star Wars actors been getting them, but it seems like there's a lot more people getting them now than there used to. Because now we recently got Ming-Na Wen got one, and Carl Weathers posthumously got one. I think it was a couple weeks ago. So yeah, and things that I feel like I'm forgetting someone. I feel like there may be one around the corner that's coming up that's going to be happening soon. But it's really really great to see.
I think it's a case of a lot of people get it later in their careers. So if you go back 10 years ago, a lot of people later in their careers had careers that existed before we were born or paying attention to any of this. So I think they've always been having stars put in for decades and decades, but now we're getting a lot of the people that we grew up with and our household names for us getting them. And so that's why it might seem like there's more of them. But I think if you, of course, walk down Hollywood Boulevard and look down at your feet at all the stars, you have to go, several between before you recognize somebody personally, because a lot of them are ones that have been, generations past that you wouldn't even know who they are now because you weren't exposed to them if you're not a cinemaphile or something. So yeah, so
Exposed
that's
cinemaphile, dude. That's you're like treading a fine line there. Jeez, whoa, like a few letters different. We're talking about a different topic. Jeez,
YouTube gets
cinemaphile. Oh, jeez.
It's a thing. I've heard it before.
Wow.
I don't know how I got started, but
unless you are a lover of cinema, who it's your main hobby to just watch every movie, you might not have seen some of the things that a lot of these people were in, say, 70 years ago.
I get what you're saying now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So good.
So yeah, congratulations to General Kenobi, to Ewan McGregor, because he really, it seemed like it really affected him, and it's great. I think people 100 years from now will be like, who's Ewan McGregor?
Right. Exactly. Although
I think
no, they might not if SAG keeps winning its battles with the studios.
Yeah,
because if they they definitely will, because he will not. He will keep acting forever.
We'll be up to Star Wars movie 87.
Oh, yeah. That's true. I see what you're saying. Yes, I saw him in a movie last week, even though he's been dead for 300 years. Yeah. Wow.
It's so good. One thing,
can't wait.
One thing about their appearance, and Hayden and Ewan, when they're together places, often do this, and I felt like it kind of started from the Kenobi press tour, where they always dress sort of accordingly to their characters. Where Ewan always wears some sort of brown jacket or brown coat, brown cloak.
Right.
To be Jedi-like, and then Hayden always wears predominantly black, as in Vader would. which I just love, and I just remember like their outfits. They both look on point. I saw the Star Wars TikTok posted like a really great edit of them both like coming out in their outfits, and I commented on the TikTok being like, I think this just made me straight because they look so good. Their outfits, they just were like so good looking, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so basically what we're saying is that they Disney bound as themselves.
Yes. Yes.
It's wild that now that you're mentioning that, I'm looking at it going like, wow, they are Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like they're full on.
They always
like,
do that. 100%. Like Obi-Wan and
like
Vader.
they had to have planned that. Had to have.
Throw Ashley Eckstein in there, and then because she often has evocative some sort of as well.
Yeah.
And then you have the 3 of them all bounding as themselves.
Also, during his speech, Ewan said, "Hayden, you were my brother." That was one of the lines.
So good.
Wow.
So
Make
good.
me cry, man. Make me cry. Yeah, very well played, guys. Okay, on this note, we got some I think maybe there was some press in the lead up. I think, obviously Ewan and Hayden, very busy people. But also I think there was some press for the Walk of Fame stuff.
I want to listen to that podcast, Ewan and Hayden. Sorry.
Where is the podcast? Seriously, guys.
Yes.
Brothers, a Star Wars podcast.
Oh no, it's got to be called High Ground. High Ground.
Oh, but that's offensive to Hayden, though.
But
he can't go on the high ground.
Yeah, that's a little bit one-sided.
Well, that's the debate. That's the constant debate of the show.
Oh my gosh. No, it should just be Ewan and Hayden. It's very simple. It's a morning show, Ewan and Hayden. In the morning. Ewan and Hayden in the morning,
Look, I'm game. I would listen to every single episode. But Variety had some interview with both Ewan and Hayden specifically talking about a lot of stuff, but Obi-Wan Kenobi and the potential for more seasons. And of course, you cannot have Ewan in any interview and mention Obi-Wan and for him not to go like, one more season. Like,
I know, I love it.
He's the biggest cheerleader for Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2. Like the guy wants it. I think he wants it the most out of everyone. As much as everyone else wants it, he wants it the most. And his most recent quote is, I really do hope we get a chance to do another one between where we ended it off in the series and when Alec Guinness comes on screen with Luke Skywalker. I think there's another few stories to tell in there. So
yes,
he's convinced.
My pitch to more Kenobi stories is a movie. I don't think we should get a Kenobi season 2. I felt like that series did actually do very well to cap itself off, but I feel like we could get a Kenobi movie, and I feel like it's actually a viable idea. Like they want to go back to the movie space. It's clear from stats and talk and just the reaction that the appearance of Hayden and the appearance of Ewan pulls people in. Even if you haven't watched any of the live action shows, you haven't engaged in Star Wars in the past 5 years or even 10 years, you go, that's Anakin and Obi-Wan. If they were like, here's a movie called Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it's about like their relationship through, training and all that kind of stuff, like people who haven't sat and watched Star Wars for 10 years would probably still, but sat and watched it for the prequels and the originals might go see that, because like there's such famous names and faces of the Star Wars franchise. I was like, just go all in on them. Honestly, they're here, they're ready to rumble. They're both so keen. That's my pitch. I think a Kenobi movie would be sick.
Yeah, I think people also thought that like 15 years ago, and finally it turned into a show after so long. So I now that you've had this idea again, in 15 years, it will happen.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think, but I think, as with anything, we've talked about with this with Acolyte and other things, like the idea that you need a season 2 of something, not necessarily true. You can do it in other ways. Like I loved what they did with Ahsoka. I loved that they brought Hayden back in multiple different ways through flashbacks, through the world between worlds, between holograms, and eventually Force Ghosts. By the way, Shadow Warrior, 1 year old today, pretty cool.
1 year.
So like love that. I love the idea of like, I don't know. I mean, what if there was more flashbacks in Ahsoka season 2, and it's not just Hayden and Ariana Greenblatt, but Hayden and Ewan.
Ariana Grande and Star Wars.
I almost did it, but I didn't. Right there. I resisted.
Oh my gosh.
But speaking of Hayden, he also had a quote on this. And he's also keen. He says, quote, "If it means that I get to do more with Ewan, then that's a no-brainer, but I really hope that he continues with the character. Just as a fan, it's so exciting to get to watch him play Obi-Wan. He's just so good at it." So yeah, agreed. He's great.
Hayden is the RDJ. Hayden is the RDJ of Star Wars. And like his combo with Ewan is like ultimate. Come on, you can't fail with that. Oh
man,
are you saying they're gonna bring? Are they gonna bring Hayden back as a different character in the Mandoverse? Is that what they're gonna do?
No.
I mean,
they'll bring him back as Darth Vader. Zing.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Nailed. Mind blown.
Good Lord.
He wouldn't be the first actor to play more than one Star Wars character. So
it's true. The president has been set. So
Jeremy Bullock. Two Jeremy Bullock characters.
Sam Witwer has played like 10.
Yes. I mean, D. Bradley Baker, it's just it's a million more.
It's weird. It's weird how like D. Baker and Sam Witwer like have played 1,000 different characters in animation, but have yet to appear on screen in anything. Like Sam Witwer, especially. He's been in live action stuff.
I think we're gonna be getting Sam Witwer live action in Star Wars very soon in the form of Ahsoka season 2.
That makes so much sense.
I have this whole theory that he's going to be the son.
I mean, the father, daughter, and son, that's right there. Like, it's freaking on point. So,
you know what? I want him to be the daughter.
You know what? He would look great with long hair. Slap a wig on him.
Ooh,
he would look great with like a nice, like luscious locks. Almost like, this is such a digression. Like the elves in like Rings of Power, and they're just, the beautiful, like long, straight hair, that. Yeah, give him that. He looks so good.
Yes. Yes.
Are you watching the Rings of Power?
I am. But I feel like I can't mention it to anyone because everyone apparently hates it, and I didn't know that, but I love it.
No, it's like the Acolyte. It's just a bunch of differences that makes
everyone's
everyone
online being mad about it, and I'm like, I thought it was great. I don't know.
I mean, I've only seen the first episode of season 2, but it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, I've seen the first 2, I think, now, and I think there's a new one I need to watch, or maybe 2. I don't know, but I've seen at least the first 2, maybe 3.
And see, Disney, take notes. Disney and Lucasfilm, Amazon is like, nah, screw the haters. We're doing 5 seasons of this stuff, and
I saw that. I was like, that's sick.
And that's exactly what we're getting. Like, they are committed to that show, unlike some companies.
Goodness.
But anyway, so speaking of Star Wars Ahsoka is now an Emmy-winning show. Won at the Creative Arts Emmys over the weekend for outstanding fantasy and sci-fi costumes, which I honestly, like, I know some of the technical awards can be kind of like thrown aside and being like, oh, it didn't get best actor or whatever else. No, this one's actually really well deserved because I think the costumes were absolutely phenomenal in Ahsoka, as they are usually in Star Wars, but like especially I think Ahsoka. And obviously this is kind of poignant, being that Shauna Triptych we recently lost, I think last year. She was the costume designer for Ahsoka, and this is a win for her and her whole team. So posthumous congratulations to Shauna, and very, very, very well deserved, because as I said, I love Ahsoka and I love that show, and I love the costumes were great. I think this was specifically for the Jedi, the Witch, and I want to say the wardrobe, but not the Warlord.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, the wardrobe. What?
There you go.
that was
a fun week.
Filoni.
Oh my god. Awesome.
So yeah, that's great. Okay, one more thing. This is very important, guys. Very important. So listen up, okay? People.com. People, the magazine, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
They are nominated. They're in the middle of nominating their pick for sexiest man alive.
Ben, for the last time, it can't be you. We can't nominate you, Ben. I
Don't
know you.
push my dreams, Hannah.
But you're not like
Darn you.
a big enough show, okay, man?
Look, I'm trying to run a write-in campaign here, okay? Come on.
He's collecting his petitions right now.
Come on, Ben. We went through this.
The petition has 3 signatures, okay? Just need one more.
Who are your mum and dad? And the guy that keeps coming in to get barbecue. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you got me figured out. No, it's actually Manny Jacinto, the stranger himself from the Acolyte. He has actually been nominated. No writing campaign necessary. And he is up there, and he's part of the poll. So, y'all Acolyte fans, I know you can muster support for things. Okay, there's 75,000 signatures on that Renew the Acolyte petition. So, y'all do your thing. let's get Manny on the cover of People magazine.
Definitely. Manny is a people. Let's go.
Amazing.
Okay. I mean, I think that's about it. I think we literally that was literally all the news for this week. We didn't miss anything. All the news.
Yeah.
But we have a couple. We have a couple. Okay, you have like 5 minutes, guys, to send in your super chats. If you're gonna send them in, send them now, because we will as soon as we're done with the segment things. With this, the next segment, of course, is Ask the SWU, and where we have a couple of great messages from Discord, where you can actually submit pretty much any time of the day or night over on Discord. There's a little special thing. Scroll all the way to the bottom of Discord. You'll see a little Ask SWU thing, and throw your questions in there. And we ask for questions every single week, but you can do them anytime. And then also we do super chats if you are so inclined. But the first one we got is from Vlad Sander, who says, he has a little bit of a long one here. He says, "We have lost the voice of generations." There you go. Rest in peace, James Earl Jones. He quotes Terry Pratchett here, going, say, do you not know that a man is not dead while his name is still spoken? And he also goes on to say, trying to bring a positive spin on what I brought everyone down again. Do you think we may get either an X-Wing series or some sort of New Republic Commando series eventually? I know that there was a rumored one that was to be starring Gina Carano. The series was shelved, if not canceled altogether after the pandemic. Could it be rebooted into something sort of, some sort of like a Wraith or Rogue Squadron series? If so, which squadron would you want it to be about? I personally think that this Wraiths would allow for more interesting stories and adventures. So, main question here. I mean, we're obviously Rogue Squadron, the movie, maybe isn't fully dead. Maybe we're still getting that, but just like a pilot thing, we really haven't gotten that. I think would be very interesting, some kind of series or movie, to just do pilot stuff, do frickin' Top Gun in space. How about that?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so sad because the Rogue Squadron movies was one of the many rumored and kind of, well, not rumored, announced movies that isn't going forward now. That I was like just so excited for. I love the prospect of that idea. So, I mean, whether that actual story is picked up and just reworked for a current timeline, I think that would be cool. Or even just the concept of it. I think it's interesting for Star Wars stories to lean more into the non-Jedi Sith stories, a la Andor. So, I think they could do a successful Star Wars movie without the head of a Jedi or Sith kind of pushing it forward by doing like a really cool, Star Wars Top Gun. Let's do that.
Ah, that would be cool. Yeah, I again, there's all this talk now about how there's going to be more movies and less of the TV shows being made. So I think that kind of changes. Maybe this would be a different answer like a year or 2 years ago, because I think it'd be more likely that we would have gotten something like that then. I think now it's more likely we will get like a movie like this rather than a TV show. But it wouldn't surprise me. Like, yeah, if Mandalorian and Grogu does very well in theaters, if the Dave Filoni movie does very well in theaters, they might be looking for more Mandoverse movies to make, and having one about the Squadron would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be interesting to see how this goes, because obviously we're at least assuming right now that, like, the sheer fact that we haven't had any big announcements, and also literally the biggest show on Disney Plus is turning into a movie, or better yet, a couple of movies, shows that Disney might be changing their overall strategy. And, you know, if it's successful, then we could have old concepts come back, a la Rangers of the New Republic, but in a, you know, a type of movie. You know, I mean, I wouldn't even rule out, you know, a maybe a streaming movie. I don't know. I don't know if they're even going to be doing a lot of streaming, to be honest. There is a rumor, I don't know how reputable it is, but saying that, oh, there's a bunch of Star Wars series that are in production right now, but they just haven't announced them. And I'm just like,
hope that's
I don't
true.
know. I mean, I really do, but also I'm very skeptical because the writing is on the wall that, like, all the streaming stuff is not going the way they thought. So
yeah, I think that this is what my hope is about the announcements and the streaming is. I think they're just trying to not repeat what they did before, because before they announced like 30 shows in one day, and that might have been a little bit too much, because they launched Disney Plus expecting it to be this kind of niche app for like families and their kids, so that they could have access to things that are in the Disney Vault and stream them. And like, oh, there'll be some Star Wars fans that tune into. Let's look at the StarWars.com numbers. Okay, a few million people. Like, okay, that's what they were expecting. And they were expecting to have to grow this thing over like 10 years to be profitable and competitive. What ended up happening is launching it kind of right before a pandemic where a lot of people were inside for a lot of time, and just Star Wars really being super popular, Marvel being super popular at that time and continuing to be. You end up in a situation where their app was so popular that it was actually competing with the most popular apps that have been around for years, like Netflix and Hulu with this for the space. And so what you ended up with is them scrambling and be like, wait, we made how many $1 billion yesterday? What are we gonna do? Well, there's only one thing to do. Let's make 30 TV shows. And so they're like, you get a TV show, and you get a TV show, and you get a TV show. R2 and 3PO, yeah, let's make a show about them. Like, Lando, yes, let's do it. Like, all these things, and they just went wild with all the ideas, and they had that whole like investors and fans streamed meeting presentation thing, and they were just like, yeah, we're doing this, we're investing $1 billion here, like $1 billion there, like, money that went into our movies we're now going to put into this. And it was wild, and it was great and all, but after a while, they saturated the market. As many people that were going to watch it were watching it, and subscribed, and then some people started, falling off after they got tired of it, and then they're like, oh, whoops, we might have announced maybe 10 too many things that day. Oops. And so I think after that whole situation, I think they want to wait till something's actually like actively in production and filming before they say anything about it. Like, I'm sure that there has to be more concepts. They can't just be no Disney Plus Star Wars shows happening. Like, there has to be some concepts, because we know Andor is ending. We know that has a fixed ending season. We know Mandalorian is pretty much switching over to movies for a bit. Maybe Ahsoka will get a season 3. Maybe it'll be in the movie. That story will continue in the movies. Like, there's really not there's no reason why Skeleton Crew will have a season 2 after all the time that it took them to do season 1. Like, there has to be something down the pipeline for Star Wars on Disney Plus, but I think they're really hesitant to talk about whatever these ideas are because of what happened, where they announced so many ideas when they were just at the stage of, yeah, we've just greenlit this and we have one person working on it. Like, they literally announced every single thing that they had one person working on in one day. Like, I understand. I understand.
And this, I mean, obviously that whole like Investors Day debacle where they brought out, like, they were like, Disney clearly was like, you have to come up with 10 ideas and they have to be like, wanting Kathleen Kennedy to pull a Kevin Feige and just kind of come out and stand in front of a screen and, say all these things that are coming up over the next 10 years or whatever else, half of which we haven't even seen yet. But this is just a chronic problem. It was just like, remember the Boba Fett movie directed by Josh Trank? Wasn't that great? Like, no.
My gosh. Josh Trank.
I remember like being in the what was it, Future Filmmakers panel with Gareth Edwards and Josh Trank. We get to the panel. We're sitting in the crowd, and they're like, Josh Trank is sick. He won't be here. He's just going to be a Gareth Edwards panel. Okay, let's go. And no one ever thought the wiser. And, this has been a problem of just like, even back in the day, like, people were getting hired and fired and projects were getting announced and never showing up. And I think they really are gunshot, which is good. Okay. It's good that Lucasfilm is learning from their mistakes and going like, you know what? We're just going to film it and then we will announce it. Then we might announce it. They'll announce it the day before it comes out on theaters. How about that? Wait until that to make sure it's actually going to come out.
Well, look at Towers of the Empire. Like, I think they almost have been testing this whole concept they just like made that whole last show and then was just like, here's a trailer. Everyone talked about it for a month and then the show was out. It was like, oh, okay, boom, done. I feel as though they're definitely the testing, just the timing thing with the animation at least. Even though like what we talk about now, like there's definitely the energy after Bad Batch that there's going to be more animation. We were kind of like waiting for maybe a backdoor pilot. There wasn't. What happened? What was it? Disney? What do you call that? D23 happened. Something happened there. But I think they're realizing that they learned that lesson and going, no, we're going to have something real down in the pipeline. So when we announce something, we can at least maybe even have a teaser trailer so then people can know immediately what they're getting into and keep that excitement linear for people, because I think that has been like super up and down with shows. And like what we've talked about, where it's like they shorten that time a little bit, keep it on people's spheres. Starting with the animation, I think that it's going to work, but then they'll see, I think we'll see that with shows where it's like much shorter time. They're well into production when they're like, hey, this show's coming. Here's a photo, a few months later, teaser trailer, a few months later, trailer, and then we get a show. I think that might be the way we're going with it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we might be getting most of our news from leaks at that point.
Yeah.
But it's funny, there's like no leaks when it comes to animation. Like they are airtight. Those animation writers and directors, they don't talk about anything. No. Okay, we don't know about it. Like they could produce an entire show and announce we would never know. Because study their secrecy.
Because apart from Rebuild the Galaxy, which is coming out, does that come out tomorrow? Today?
Tonight?
Tonight? Sometime?
There you go. Friday, I think.
Apart from that, there's technically that we know of no other animation to come. But they've got like a full ass team at Lucasfilm working every day on something. So it's like, what are they possibly doing? If those names, if that Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett, they're still there. They're still
there
going in every day. What are they going in for? So yeah.
Once they're a month away from finishing it, we'll know.
We will know.
It's not like we've heard like, they've just, there's nothing going on at Lucasfilm. It's a ghost town. Like, no, there's people there working. Like, they're doing something. They're making Star Wars. Just like, what kind of Star Wars are they making? I need to know. So yeah. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Literally, I mean, because it's Friday and we have a week to our next episode, they'll probably release something tomorrow or today, whenever you guys are listening to this, because Lucasfilm sometimes loves to torture us. So who knows? Maybe tomorrow they'll announce the next slate of stuff. Who knows? Who knows? One final question. It's from Hugh, and he says it's not even a question, actually. He says, no question for this week, but I wanted to talk about my fulfillment of attending a rescreening of A New Hope on Sunday, the 8th of September. Firstly, though, I'll mention the news regarding James Earl Jones made me reflect on the screening with a sentimental value. He was an excellent choice as the voice of Darth Vader. He was an instrumental in helping build that character. He will be missed. Moving on to the screening itself, my interest in seeing A New Hope on the big screen was something I alluded to a few months back, and it's safe to say that it looked fantastic. To reference the special edition trailer, it was the, quote, motion picture event in a way that was meant to be experienced. The rebel pilot in me hated the Empire for how they acted in the film, and I mentally rooted for our heroes for saving the day. What made the experience wholesome, though, was seeing various parents introduce their kids to A New Hope and hearing the kids' reactions. On the whole, the evening was fun and all around good times. Wink, wink.
Hey.
So, yeah, that's one I don't think I've seen A New Hope on a proper big screen yet myself. I've seen it on a big screen at like somebody's house, but never like on a movie screen. So that's definitely on my bucket list. So I don't know if you guys seen A New Hope in the theater?
I don't know. At this point, it's like I've seen so many things. I'm like, did I see that one or not? So I'm not 100% sure. I don't have a strong memory of it if I did.
Nice. Yes, just this past May, I did watch the prequel trilogy, or all the original 6 prequel originals for the first time in theaters. So that was fantastic. And my God, just fits the screen so good and feels so good. Yeah, all those big moments are just so much better than like a 10-year-old, like 55-inch TV that like has a crack in the middle, you know. Like it's just so much better on the big screen.
If there's, you know, 1,000 years from now, and whatever turns into museums, whatever museums and history books become in that time, when it's talking about our age of human history, and those books, if there is a picture of a theater, on the marquee will be Star Wars. And if there is a picture of the screen, on that screen will be a screen frame from that movie. Because it's like, that's the most quintessential cinematic experience, watching A New Hope in a theater. And there's very, very specific good reasons for it that are referenced by so many people who become makers of film and say, the moment I decided to do this was when I was in a theater and I was watching this movie.
Right. Yeah. That's, I mean, that movie is, I mean, all the movies, every piece of Star Wars content, in my opinion. Like I saw the freaking Siege of Mandalore on the big screen at Celebration, and that was amazing. And it is nothing quite like it, and A New Hope especially. You know, I know from experience, like, you know, I finally saw Return of the Jedi on the big screen for the first time last year, and you know, you're going into it and you're like, I've seen this movie, blah 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 blah, and then I'm like, it's like my hair's blown back, being like, oh my God, I've never seen this movie like this. It really, there is nothing like the theater experience, which is, you know, made me sad and worried about the state of cinema in general, because I don't get the chance to go to the theater as much as I want, but when I go, it's a hollowed experience for me, and I really do love it. So, you know, and that's where these movies belong. So yeah, great to hear from you, Who. Great to see. That was a great experience for you, and yeah, I'm hoping they just do that. I like that they did like the recent marathon, but it's kind of absurd. It's kind of absurd to be like, here, we're going to play all the movies in order. There's too many movies now. It was ridiculous when there was only 6 movies. Now it's really ridiculous. Like, maybe split them up in trilogies. Like, you know, give me a ticket for the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, sequel trilogy. Like, that would be cool. And let me see them on, like, different days. Like, I'm still going to have to kill, like, 8 to 10 hours, but at least, you know, it's digestible.
That's what Australia did. Yeah. That's what we did in Australia. Where it's like on the Saturday,
I'm moving to Australia.
There was like a morning session and a night session of the prequels, and then on the Sunday there was a morning session, night session of
brilliant.
Simple.
I do remember the times when you could actually feasibly watch them all in one day, and I remember when I did it. That was really, really, really fun. I had a party at my house. I invited a bunch of people, and I said, "Come over. We're watching all the Star Wars movies." And a bunch of people came over, and we started in the morning, and then by the end of the night, we had seen all at the time 6 Star Wars films.
Wow! There you go.
Amazing.
Love it.
Those were the days.
Yes.
Those were the days.
Those were the days. All right, so that'll do it for this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We want to thank everybody so much for watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, for listening on your favorite podcast streaming service. Make sure that you follow us on social media if you haven't, at the SWU, including the premier social media site known as Threads. We're also at the SWU over there. Ben, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Oh, it was a pleasure as always. Don't want to get too down about it, okay? This was a celebration of the life of the legendary James Earl Jones. We will miss him dearly, but his contribution to Star Wars and just cinema in general will never be forgotten. Like that's not an understatement. Like someone like that, he's made an indelible mark on our culture and our way of life. And so sucks he's no longer with us, but we will continue to enjoy his contributions and all other stuff. This really is a slow news week, guys. It was like the shortest episode we've done in forever. So hey, whatever. We're making the best of it. And I will point you in the direction of my other podcast, IPC. We just recorded a new episode. Naturally, we pay tribute to the legendary James Earl Jones, but I've been watching some shows recently. I watched Fallout, watched some Rings of Power. We talked about Alien, a lot of different stuff. So if you want different flavors of content, definitely go check that out. It'll be up in your feeds later this weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. You can check Ben out on social media at Ben Hart with no E. Hannah, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Thank you so much. Another great show. Good laughs and good rabbit hole discussions. But yes, absolutely. We will continue to remember the legacy of James Earl Jones as always. But thanks for having me on. Make sure talking about Ahsoka, if you liked Ahsoka, dropping tomorrow night of this live right now, so it might already be out if you're watching after the fact. Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I have an hour interview with Morgan Elsbeth herself, Diana Leonosanto, all about her time in the galaxy far, far away, a lot about her episode in Mandalorian Season 2, as well as all her stuff in Ahsoka. It was such a thrill to talk to her. And yeah, it's not just a Q&A. It's not just, answering things. We really had a deep conversation about Star Wars. And she's such a true fan. She's such a wonderful fan of the franchise. Outside of just being in it. So make sure you check that out as well. Diana Lee. Can't beat it. First Night Sister. Live action Night Sister. So there you go.
That's so fantastic. And you can make sure that you're subscribed over at the Raeside as well, so you don't miss that. That's RAE side. Yes, this is Scout Academy in our chat. Always choose the SWU and Raeside.
Let's just make it the SWU side.
Just combine it. Mash it together.
Let's just make it easier.
Amazing. Awesome. We want to thank everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you haven't, make sure that you do that. And thanks to our channel members as well for help making the show possible. Make sure that you also subscribe and leave a review if you're listening and you found us on a podcast app as well. Thank you for everybody who has done that. And of course, make sure you check out the SWU Network Discord as well as the other shows on our network. In addition to the Raeside, we also have Iron Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractably, and more. So check that out. We'll be back next week. But until then, for Hannah and Ben, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.